minutes. If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.
Good evening and welcome to episode 393 of Picks and Ponies right here on the HHH Racing Podcast. I'm your very proud host, Howard Crowds. Thanks for joining us tonight as we are discussing the first of many huge Kentucky Derby preps, the Risen Star Stakes, plus the late Pick 5 and much other fantastic information. Please make sure you hit the subscribe button on YouTube and also hit the notification bell as well as the like button. Now, for some particular reason, we are live right now on X. Thank you very much for watching. The show is not popping up on YouTube. That is something that's going on with YouTube. That is not an issue on our end. I'm not really sure why. We're going to try to rectify the situation, but please do me a favor. If you're watching us on X, please let anyone that you know that's trying to reach us on YouTube go and switch over to X. Most people can get on X so they have an account. And if worst case scenario, we will be putting this up on YouTube as a replay. So I greatly apologize for the little bit of delay, but again, for some reason, we are not popping up on YouTube. Everything has worked fine on our end. It is an issue with YouTube. Again, you can reach me there on X right there at HHH Racing Pod. You can listen to us at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. Great tip sheet. Look below the video player once we have this up on YouTube for information about our Power Picks tip sheet, which has done very well for over 4 years. We've also got a great website, hhhracingpodcast.com. We got a lot to discuss tonight. We've got a special guest coming on a little bit later, Joe Kristufek, who has not been on for a while, but big fan of his from Churchill Downs. He'll be here to talk about the Rachel Alexandra as well as the Risen Star Stakes a little bit later in approximately 25 minutes. Let me go on and bring in my wonderful co-host. First, from the East Coast of Maryland, Mr. Pete Visco, and from the Saratoga Special and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Mr. Paul Halloran. Gentlemen, how are we doing? Paul, you're muted. Just to let you know, going to turn that microphone on. Pete, how are we doing tonight?
Not too bad. What's going on, guys?
Paul,
hello,
you there?
Paul.
How you doing?
You're quiet today, Paul. What happened?
I'm always quiet, Pete. You know that.
Yeah, it's true. That's one
All
of the
right.
things I like most about you. Your quiet
I'm
sensitivity.
reserved, Pete. I'm
Yes.
reserved.
We
I'm
can hear you.
temperate.
I agree with Nathan Woodward. Darn technology never works when you. I'll tell you, we've had like very little problems with 4 years of shows. This particular issue, Pete, is not the same issue we had last 2 weeks. We rectified that. For some reason, everything is set up on YouTube, and for some reason, it says it was deleted on YouTube, and we didn't want to restart it and cause confusion with our guests, whatnot. So again, this show will be up on YouTube as a replay, just not live. Again, if you're watching on X, anyone that usually watches on our YouTube channel, please refer them over to X, and we will post this on YouTube, or we should be able to, as a replay. Guys, we're going to go ahead and jump right into the late Pick 5 here, and it's a huge day. Now, you guys know what I'm going to talk about first. Let's talk about the weather. So, very briefly, it's sort of a crazy weather situation throughout the country. Let's just talk about Fairgrounds very quickly. Earlier this week, it didn't look good with the weather in New Orleans. What it looks like right now, guys, is it's going to be basically okay until the very end of the card, where they're definitely going to get some rain, thunderstorms. It could be after the races are over. It's starting to look that way, guys. It's starting to look better and better. Chance of scattered storms. We're going to assume everything is on the grass. Let's hope, guys, it stays on the grass. The last 2 races of the card are on dirt, Pete and Paul. So the turf races are going to be over, 5:30 local, and it should be fine. It's going to be very windy and very warm. There's a front coming through. Anyway, that's about it. Big day of racing, guys. We always cover this card. I'm very excited. So let's go ahead and jump right into the Fairgrounds late Pick 5 on Saturday. It's a really good card, as always. Big Derby prep, which we're going to get to. Let's go to race 10, which opens up our late Pick 5 on Saturday at the Fairgrounds. It's on the turf, $100,000, fillies and mares. Big field. We got big fields all over the place of 14. Whoa. With 2 also eligibles. The morning line favorite is the number 5, Nanda Dia, Argentine bred for Nacho Correas and Jose Ortiz. You see our picks on the screen. I'm going 5, 9, 8. Paul's going 4, 6, 14. That's how tough this is. 6 horses already. None of us have same in the top 3. Pete is going 14, 5, 10. Paul, we're going to start with you. Lovely Princess for McPeak and Hernandez 4-1 morning line coming off a layoff.
Yeah, I thought that I kind of tossed the last race because of the distance. I think this horse, and I know he does show some closing lines, but if we've talked about this many times, he is a much better closer at the shorter distances, or should I say, it's a more compact closing. So I kind of tossed the last race, and I think if you toss the last race, the like 7 before that are genuinely puts them right in the mix here. I got a headache, like I'm sure you guys did. Pete, when I was handicapping, I do it on my iPad, and I kept having to scroll and scroll and
It's a
scroll.
long one. Yeah.
And then Pete, when I thought I was done scrolling, I saw also eligible. I'm like, really? This is
You
a
had to
joke,
do it
right?
on this one, right? Yeah.
So yeah, it's wide open. I mean, I think it's going to be an accomplishment to be alive. I thought the 5 was more of a, for me at least, kind of an all or nothing type. That's why you don't see her in my top 3. I would certainly be using her in my ABC grid. But yeah, I went to the 4 based on, I think this 1.1 miles distance is much more upper alley than the 1.5 miles last time.
Hey, Paul, one thing too is that the benefit of Fairgrounds is she gets Lasix back, and a lot of her best performances have been on Lasix, and she gets it back here even in a stake, so that's beneficial, I think,
Yeah.
to this horse.
Yeah, Pete, that could be a mid show rant, but I won't do it.
No,
But
yeah, I mean, I'm not saying
yeah,
that's a positive overall, but
yeah.
if you're
Some
betting a
people have
horse,
strict
it might
rules,
benefit.
some
Yeah, yeah,
people have lax rules, and Louisiana has no rules. But anyway, I
yes,
digress.
yeah.
Just
That's a separate discussion.
Just to let
Correct.
everyone know, you can chat. There is a live chat on X, so please join that. And Pete, whenever you have a chance, because I cannot do it right now, if you are able to type in the live chat on YouTube, Pete, just in case people can see the chat but not the show itself. I don't know
Yeah,
if
I've
that's
been
actually
talking to them
true.
on there.
Oh, you have? Okay.
Yeah,
So, okay, great. So you're active in the chat on YouTube, correct?
yeah. I told people to jump over to X
Okay,
too.
terrific. Thank you. Okay. This 4 can win. I'm not sure I look McPeak off a layoff, but this horse is talented and certainly can win. Pete, you're going to go with the 14, which Paul also has in the mix here. Paul's got third. The rails are going to be down, and I'm not sure I love this post, but Stir Crazy for McMaker with Maker and Ortiz. Obviously, Ortiz is going to take a lot of money. 6-1 morning line, coming off a dirt effort which was scratched off. Got a low buyer, but I think you can ignore the buyer. This horse is very sharp right now.
Yeah, especially I mean it was slop and it was off the turf and she still ran great. I mean again, yeah, the buyer wasn't great, but who cares? I think she still showed and she sort of blew out a couple of the horses in here. Now you're switching to IRAD. You're getting back on the preferred surface. She has a win at Fairgrounds. You see she's 6 for 7 at the distance in the top 2. She also, not to bemoan the point, she gets Lasix again here, which has been beneficial. The only 2 bad races she's really had in the past, I don't want to count them, 8 or 9, 10, whatever, one was a graded stakes try, and one was at Kentucky Downs, which we know can be weird for horses, and both of them were off Lasix. Maker 2 for 20, oddly, in non-graded stakes turf routes at Fairground, but he won the last one with this horse. So, at least that's not the best stat, but at least this horse was able to buck the trend once. And again, I have a little bit of faith that IRAD, at least if I'm going to have not the greatest post, I'll have some faith that IRAD can hopefully at least just get this one a little bit in the mix. And she has enough of a kick. And as you can see on the screen, it's not projecting like a hot pace that I could think, but there's enough horses up front to make it at least interesting and hopefully not dawdling, one of those we just let one horse go and cut really slow fractions.
Now, something I want to do, guys, more often, and Pete, you and I talked about this, is talk more about time form, because I've been doing a little more time form research and finding more about the figures, and I want to point out something because when people see the time form figures, let me just put this up on the screen really quick. Let's go to the 14. You will see numbers. I'll show everyone right here. You're going to see these file numbers 91 right there, 122. Those are accurate, but those are not the actual adjusted pace time form final number. That is just a raw number, sort of like a buyer to some extent. What's really best is if you go to time form, again, for people that are using that, and we've gone to time form, but we haven't really looked at these numbers very much on this show. We're going to do that a lot more often, guys. What you really want to focus on are these numbers over here on the right, on the very right side. You see these 112, 113, 111. That's really what you want to focus on. That is pace adjusted. Okay, so it's not the same as the final number. Like, for example, right here you see 112 versus 119. And if you click on it, it says the number could be sucks because the pace was so aberrantly fast or slow that it caused the horses to run unreasonable final time. So this horse got downgraded, guys, because it got such a great trip and was just going to extremely slow fractions. So although it got a raw 119, it's actually moved down to a 112. So these times on these numbers on the final right is really what you want to look at for comparison to other horses. Like, for example, the horse that I'm interested in, let's go to like Tufani, for example, is right there, guys, with how about a 118, 113, 111. So we're going to focus a little bit more, guys, on those numbers as well as the actual raw number, because it's something interesting to look at.
By the way, one other thing on there that's cool, because it's, sometimes the class of a race, especially from track to track, is confusing for some people. And Timeform actually puts a race rating on there. It's like a class rating on there. So yeah, I don't check it to see if it's 100% accurate or if it's always spot on, but at least it's a quick way to say, what is this, this 50,000 claimer at this track? How does that compare with, an allowance something at this track? And they may be closer, they may be further apart than you think. And that's an easy way to eyeball it. So there's a lot of beneficial stuff like that on Timeform. And you could get Formulator plus Timeform as part of a package. If anybody wants to do that.
Guys, I thought Nandadia was really impressive in October, and I believe this horse was scratched off. There's a race that came off the turf last month, and this horse had to wait. But and actually, Nacho shipped her back to Keeneland, which I found interesting. I think just on the synthetic, guys, just because they want to make sure they kept her in shape, right? Because if you're at Fairgrounds and it's like wet, they don't want to work over the wet dirt. I mean, this horse was training at Keeneland normally, so I like that Nacho actually shipped her back to Keeneland. It's not that far of a ship, and has been on the Sin. I just thought that was a really impressive effort. And again, if you look at the time form, we'll move on after this, guys. Whoops, that's not what I want to do. If you go to the time form here, let's see what number that Nanda Dia got in that allowance race compared to everyone else. You see, got a 113. So you can argue maybe, in par with everyone else, maybe slightly slower, but pretty much right there. Lovely Princess, when she was running, you can see 116, 115. This is just a wide open race, guys. And I don't know how deep you are right now, but assuming that the race is on turf and holds together, I've count 6 total A's and B's and another 3 or 4 C's. I could practically hit the all button here, guys. I don't know your thoughts about that, Paul, from a ticket instruction perspective.
I told you, I think it's going to be a very good accomplishment to be alive here. But the good news is they have a pick 4 starting in the next race.
They sure do. Last thing I want to say, guys, and I don't understand why Champagne Rose is 30-1. I know this is another McPeak. I know he likes this horse. This horse is very good in Brazil. What was she facing? I don't know. The last race completely tossed out, guys. It was in the slop. She didn't like it at all. She's a huge price. I'm using her. There's a lot of horses. It just feels like, guys, every year that we do this particular card, we say spread in the turf races, maybe go lighter in the dirt races. That was one of the first things I thought about, Pete, when I handicapped this pick 5.
Yeah, I think you can do that here. Well, especially it's a 14-horse field with no real. What was the favorite? 7-2. Right. I forget what the odds were. By the way, your horse that you were talking about, the the 5, that one you said the figure didn't come back maybe as strong. That was also off like an 11-month layoff too. So now you're getting sort of second off, even though it's been a little bit of a layoff since that last one. You're getting second kind of ish off that super long one. So a move forward could definitely be expected there. So I like that one.
Tom mentioned Tufani, the 8. I like Tufani coming off the layoff. Look, it's very trip-dependent race. It's going to be very exciting to see what happens. Let's go on to the next race, guys, on the day. And this is one of the dirt races. And I'll tell you what, this race has come up real nice. Very nice. This is the Mine Shaft Stakes. I'll go ahead and put it on the screen. Race 11, the second leg of the Pick 5. How about $250,000 for this race? A mile to 16th, like I said, on the dirt. Not a huge field, but a very talented, good field of 8, including some horses, guys, that are coming back, making their 4-year-old debuts and could be major factors this year. The morning line favorite here is a very soft number 5. Catching Freedom is back for Brad Cox and Flavian Pratt. Pete, I think is this one of the horses you were a fan of last year? I can't.
That was my Derby horse. Yeah.
That was your Derby horse.
Derby horse. Yeah.
Well, he's back 3-1. He's working well. Let's see who we're going with. Is he going with his Derby horse? He is not. I'm going 4-7-5. Paul's going 7-4-1. Pete is going 4-5-8. So Pete and I are thinking the same. Paul, let's go to you. You're going with Batten Down for your buddy Billy Mott, as Patrick Kunzel likes to say. Tyler G. This horse was very good last year. Showed a lot of speed. Gets a nice tactical post, and if ready, you think will be a factor in the spot.
Yeah, and we talk about it a lot. There's a handful of guys where I just don't worry, and this isn't even a long layoff. But this is just over 2 months for Mott. This is not even a factor. Yeah, I thought this horse was good in the Ohio Derby. I thought he was, ran behind the top 2 3-year-olds in the Jim Dandy, ran a good third, probably in a little deep in the Travers when you throw Torpedo Anna into the mix. And did not run well in the Discovery. But yeah, I think coming off the layoff not being an issue, I think the numbers fit. I thought this was, I won't say one of the best 3-year-olds last year, but certainly at the top of the second tier, if you will. And I think that kind of fits in a race like this.
For sure. Now, there is other speed in this race, Paul. He should be fresh off the 3-month plus layoff here. What kind of trip do you envision for Tyler? He might have to work out something. I wouldn't say this horse was very willing to pass horses last year, but certainly as a Tappet, he might be maturing. Do you want to see him just gun it and maybe be involved with a fast pace, or just sort of break and maybe he can stalk and win at this point?
Yeah, I think he could stalk and win, Howard, for 2 reasons. One, the one that you brought up, that he is, he's a year older and presumably a little more mature, and it's well known that the Tappets are a handful. They become a little less of a handful as they grow older. But more importantly, Howard, that at this distance, I certainly think at 1 mile and 16th, and you say, well, he didn't pass horses at 1 mile and 16th at Keeneland. Well, that was the beginning, just at his third career race. So, yeah, I think this horse has the right to be able to rate and pass, and certainly, having Tyler on board is certainly great. So, yeah, I don't think, but he has to. In fact, in this race, I would hope he doesn't go to the lead, because he would probably have to run too fast if he does.
Exactly. So you see the pace scenario on the screen. You are hoping that does not happen. Him maybe battling with Tuscan Sky and the 8 on the outside. Maybe stalking him.
Yep.
Maybe he can leave and maybe just sit outside the 3. Tuscan Sky, if Tuscan Sky goes. It's going to be really interesting to see how that race shape works out. Pete, let's talk about our top choice. I am very, very excited about this horse. The number 4 Hall of Fame. Hall of Fame is 4-1 morning line. Steve Aspen, Jose Ortiz. I remember last year, guys, when he broke his maiden on January 20th, people were talking about this horse maybe being a Derby prospect. I mean, he won by 10. It was a monster effort. He just didn't quite develop. Sometimes these gun runners, as we know, unfortunately, don't always pan out exactly the way we want them as a 3-year-old. But I'll tell you what, Aspen has this horse in the right direction, Pete. He's won 2 races, including two back, which I really liked, which is a lightning hot pace, and he was able to rate and win. Last time he just did it easily on the lead. I don't think he's going to get an easy lead this time, but I think Hall of Fame can be a serious handicap horse in 2025.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, that's the hope. I mean, you just see if you just look from a figure standpoint, the last two races were sort of not the two back wasn't the best because his second race is the one that you're talking about that sort of put him on the map. But you see that natural progression. Now you're getting it from 3 to 4. I mean, the key is if he can keep progressing, then he's really talented and he can just be better than most of these in this field. He does get, I hate to, this is every race now, but he gets Lasix back. It's the only problem is the two races he lost were his two graded stakes tries. So do you attribute that to no Lasix? Do you attribute that to being maybe a little too deep in graded stakes? Do you attribute it to a little more distance? Like you wouldn't think of it, a gun runner out of a Giants Causeway mare, but those were the two longest races also. See, it's one of those where you don't know what to attribute the bad performances to. So you just hope whatever it was isn't around anymore, and now he can run to his full capability. But there was enough there to scare me, even though I wound up putting the horse on top, just because I think this is a competitive field with some horses with upside, but I think a lot of them have to prove that they can realize that upside first.
Yeah, I hear you. I just look, this is an Asmussen I trust, Pete. I mean, he said in DRF article that he really likes the horse, and Steve is usually pretty modest when it comes to his horses. My vibe is really, really positive with horse.
Yeah.
We have our guest Joe Kristufek in the background. Joe, if you'd like to come on a little bit early to talk about races other than the last two, give me a thumbs up. Otherwise, we'll let you. All right. So Joe, I told Joe, about 8:35, but he's ready to go, man. He's ready. I love it. So let's just go ahead and bring him on right now. We'll just end this conversation and go on to the next race, turf race, and we'll have Joe on for the last three races. Let me just put us on the screen. Guys, I've always been a big fan of Joe Kristufek. Of course, mainly because I believe he's a Chicago Cubs fan. I mean, he's a Chicago guy. So I first got to know him a little bit through Arlington, and I don't actually think we've met in person yet, which is absolutely crazy, Joe. So I know we're going to bring him on here in just a second. We gotta make that happen. He does an unbelievable job with Churchill Downs Incorporated. He's done it for years. He covers all of their tracks like a glove. So let's bring him on right now to talk about the last three races Saturday at the Fairgrounds in New Orleans. The one and only Joe Kristufek. Joe, how you doing, buddy? Thanks for coming on. Greatly appreciate it.
Guys? Great to be here with you. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you great.
Beautiful.
Okay. I just want you to know I'm sacrificing attending a Grant Forrester crawfish boil.
Wow.
To be on with you guys tonight.
Wow.
I'm not sure that's a good move, but thank you anyway.
Joe, would that match up with a Wayne Catalano like crawfish boil? Because that guy can cook.
Yes, Catalano can cook. Grant and his crew are the master of the crawfish boil, shrimp, sausage, corn on the cob. They had a huge crowd there. It's a little on the chilly side for New Orleans, not like a couple weeks ago when we got 10 inches of snow randomly, which nobody knew what to do around here, as you guys can imagine. But
crazy.
It's a great time. It's a great time of year. And as you guys know, I know the Louisiana Derby and the Fairgrounds Oaks are the final prep races here at Fairgrounds. But this is our biggest weekend. Proven time and time again, the Rachel Alexandra, 10 of the last 28 Kentucky Oaks winners have run in this race. And the Risen Star, the recent running since 2020, when we extended it to 1 1/8 miles, I don't need to tell you guys, they kind of sort of speak for themselves.
Yeah, well, I think you might have heard last year through the grapevine that we had a major future Derby bet on Sierra Leone. And a year ago this weekend, Joe, I was actually at Santa Anita visiting my brother who lives out in LA. And from the Santa Anita paddock, I watched Sierra Leone roll 5 wide down the track. And I was about as excited I've ever been in my life without having one penny on that particular race. But I knew that race gave me a chance for everyone in the podcast as a group to collect 150,000 and collect for me 53,000 personally, because I knew that got him in the Derby. However, we're just going to move on because that was too depressing. The actual Derby itself was too depressing to talk about right now. I'm going to be back next year, this year though, at the Derby, Joe. So I hope to see you there.
Yeah,
you and I will
cool.
talk off air. Real quick, let me bring the PPs back on. Do you have a pick in the mine shaft, Joe? And I know, I'm assuming you're going to be on air Saturday. I don't know if you feel comfortable giving a final selection or you want to wait, but that's up to you.
No,
Any thoughts on the mine shaft?
I mean, to me, it's, I agree with what you said, Howard. Hall of Fame, I think, has got a chance to be one of the best handicap horses in the country this year. Yeah. And I think this is a great test for him because it's it's a grade 3 field, and there's a lot of, other horses that want to be forward here. He was forward in his last race. He's been forward in a lot of his races. This is a completely different horse than we saw as a 3-year-old. When I remember him breaking his maiden, and they, hustled him out of the starting gate because they knew that he was potentially Kentucky Derby caliber, but he just didn't have the mind. He had to be hustled out of the starting gate. He won by 10, wasn't nearly as impressive visually as it looked on paper. And then he was just biting off more than he could chew in some of those prep races here last year. And one of the reasons why Steve Asmussen is a Hall of Famer, despite, in addition to his 10,800 wins, he always knows when to take a step back and regroup with a horse. Did it with Gun Runner, and he's doing it here with Hall of Fame. And, it's going to be a good test because tactically he's going to have to try to work out a trip. And I think this will be a springboard to even bigger things to come this year.
I agree. We've got hundreds of people watching right now on X. Thank you very much. Again, we apologize for the YouTube situation. It's not our fault. It's something going on with YouTube, but we are live on X, and we have hundreds of people watching. Joe, quick thoughts on the comebacking Catching Freedom in this race and then going forward, and then we'll just go on to race 12.
I mean, he should get the setup he wants, right? I mean, I haven't seen him as a 4-year-old, but he kept getting better and better and better as a 3-year-old, before, he went to the sidelines. He's going to get a setup. He's going to make his run. Never been a great workhorse. If you put him next to Hall of Fame, and just put them side by side based on what they do in the mornings, you would think one is grade 1 caliber and the other is not. So, he's going to run his race. If for some reason there's a bunch of chaos up front, he's the most likely horse to come from out of it and get the job done. Wouldn't be surprised at all to see him win.
By the way, Howard. Oh, go ahead. You go first.
I agree. Just from a ticket perspective, Joe, I'm going to fade him a bit. I just think mile 16 might be a little too short, and he might need one. I mean, you could stuff me in a locker, Pete, for sure, but you got to take a stance somewhere. I'm going to be a little bit against him. The other thing, Joe, is whenever we see, you've been doing this a long time like I have, you see, there's 4 or 5 speed horses. They all see the program, and someone just goes and someone sits and doesn't quite develop. So, but go ahead, Pete. That's my Catching Freedom can absolutely win. This is not the spot for me on Saturday for him.
Yeah, it pained me to pick against him. That's my guy. But I had a crazy Brad Cox stat because you see the long layoff for Catching Freedom since June. First after 180 to 270 day layoffs in dirt routes, 49% wins, 72% in the money, and that's out of 57 starts, so not even a small sample size. So you look at it and go, well, is he going to be ready? The works don't, like Joe said, the works don't show a ton, but I don't think that's his game anyway. But Cox is just crazy how he can just get a horse ready off a layoff like this. So if he comes back with any talent and does get a pace setup, I'm hoping he really runs well just because I love the horse overall.
Yeah, I'm going to use him defensively. Hey, Joe, real quick before we go on to race 12, Pete and Paul make fun of me sometimes because I'm one of those weird Weather Channel watcher guys. I love the weather. What's the vibe down there? Now what I've seen is it's definitely going to rain, but maybe until after the card, very windy and warm. Have you heard anything down there in terms of the weather Saturday?
It doesn't matter. We were supposed to have, severe storms last night, a tornado watch, and we were fast and firm today. Usually it goes the other way. Normally we don't get lucky like that, right. But you start looking days in advance or a week in advance and you say it's too early. I'm seeing windy. I'm seeing upper 70s. I'm seeing a chance of showers maybe after the races and cooling off temperatures going into Sunday, just like you are. But until we actually reach the day, we really don't know.
Good answer, Joe. That's a good answer for me. Me and Paul like that answer. We we don't give a crap about the weather. No, they can't tell the weather if they look out the window, these people.
We get the weather from channel WGAF. That's where I get it.
All right. There you go. Hey Joe, Magistrate running Monday. You know that I know that you know. There you go. Magistrate's running. They're running that race back on Monday. Just let you know for Adelphi Racing in the Maiden 30 turf
Oh
event.
yeah, okay,
that,
good.
that
Yeah,
I
and
have that
hopefully
I have a
on
piece
yeah,
of ownership wise. So anyway,
yeah.
that's going to happen Monday. Just got carded today. Anyway, let's go to the Fairgrounds Stakes, guys. This is a Grade 3 on the turf. Nice older horses here. You got a field of 10. I'm guessing Warrior Johnny's going to scratch out of this race. And run on the dirt race, you would think. Maybe Joe's got insight on that. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
that's the case. That's the case only
Okay.
if this race comes off, right?
Perfect. Morning line favorite is the number 2, Gigante. 7-2 morning line. Asmussen Ortiz. This horse is sharp as sharp can be. On the bottom of the screen, you see our picks, and Joe will give his opinions in just a moment. I'm going 8-1-2. Paul is also going with the 8, taking Candy, 8-3-2. And Pete's going 1-3-2. Joe, as the guest, we're going to have you go first. Again, you don't obviously have to give a top 3, completely up to you. What are your thoughts in the Fairgrounds Stakes? And before you answer that, are the rails, I'm assuming, are going to be down? Yes, the rails are going to be down. I know sometimes the rail can be good and speed can play better when the rails are all the way down. Should that come into play as punters are trying to figure out who to bet on Saturday on the turf?
Yeah, we ran Johnny's Fireball in this race last year. They took the rails down. We didn't know if he was going to be good enough in the race to begin with, let alone get 9 furlongs. And we got beat, I think, a long neck. And the inside was good. The inside is always good when they take the rails down. And sometimes it's more pronounced than others. It hasn't been as pronounced in recent years as I remember it being, maybe a few years back where it was like a golden situation down on the maybe 2 inside pats. So you kind of have to wait and see how it plays out, maybe more so in the early races, but I would certainly look at it as an advantage. It's just a matter of how much of an advantage.
What are you thinking here in this race, Joe?
I like the horses that are coming out of that November 17th race at Churchill. I thought What Say Thee got a better run of the race that particular day. And like he often does, Luis Sai has just kind of lifted him to the finish line. The horse that was favored, taking Candy, who was 3-5, got beat a length, but he got an awkward break from the gate. He had an uncomfortable trip. He was shuffled back.
Yep.
He was 4 wide late on the far turn, and then he got caught in a blind switch at the top of the stretch, kind of lost momentum briefly. Cherie's really good at bringing horses back off these kinds of layoffs. It's Irad. I think Gigante has been facing easier competition in the 2 races that he's won this meet. This is going to be a much tougher test for him, but it's tough to argue with his consistency. If I were to throw a long shot in there, it would be Roland Pargo Verde, who's been running on the dirt in his last couple of races and probably should have won 2 back. Did win last time. McPeak was running this horse 11 furlongs, 12 furlongs back at Churchill and Saratoga in June and July. And he's a lightly raced horse who really just seems to be coming into his own. I think he's going to get first run on some of the deeper closers, and that could make the difference if I'm, doing a little bit of price shopping. That's the one I'd land on. Yeah,
he's definitely interesting. We don't have him in the top 3, but I'm going to be using him on my ticket for sure. Pete, why don't you go piggyback on the one, What Say Thee? I know Joe already talked about this horse. I'm not concerned about layoffs at all with Maker. Sai is going to save ground. There's really very few things to like. I guess you can be worried about him turning 7 and getting older, but Maker almost does better as these horses get older, it seems.
Yeah, and you don't know. You have to see because he's only run the once since September. So you want to see how he comes back. But again, his form since he moved to the Maker barn, he's only lost 3 races. One of them was going 10 furlongs, which maybe was just a bit much for him. One was at Kentucky Downs, which again, we always say either you like Kentucky Downs, you don't, who the hell knows. And the other one, he was sort of blocked and never really got loose. So otherwise, Maker has just had this horse in fantastic form. I mean, we talk about him being 7. Late in his 6-year-old year, he had his lifetime buyer top, his lifetime time form top. So he wasn't regressing and still winning. He was just running well. And I like what Joe said, where sometimes that the rail can be good when they take the rails down. And I think I think Saez can work out a really nice trip here. Again, he gets to keep Lasix, which is good for him because he's only run once off of it and was horrible. So I like that. He should be able to sit right off the pace, hopefully. And Maker likes turf routes at Fairgrounds in the past couple months. Maker 5 for 10, 7 for 10 in the money, 5 for 10 wins. Maker's been hot there, especially at this, going longer on the turf, which again isn't necessarily surprising.
If I can add something real quick, about Maker, the last several years at Fairgrounds, his percentage has been 5%, 10%. He's come with a lot more livestock to Fairgrounds this year. This is my 8th season here, by far than he ever has before. Horses seem to be running a lot better, very well intended. And I don't know if you guys remember, he had some health issues back in the late summer and early fall. That barn went completely south for literally 2 or 3 months, which you don't see with this barn. It has cycled back to a really good form cycle now, with most of the horses that he's run at Fairgrounds performing well. So where I would kind of look to fade him, maybe, in the last 3 or 4 years at Fairgrounds, I'm back to, going right back to the Maker well if I like the horse.
I like that. I know that, Churchill Downs Corporate uses different speed figs, but for people that like time form, Joe, I just want to show this again. Focus on the very right side, ladies and gentlemen, just for comparison. And Paul, we're going to go to you with Cherie DeVoe. The one's got 113s, 120s. Gigante, maybe slightly slower. So very astute by you, Joe. We'll see if he classes up. Unit economics even a little bit slower, but that's Chad and Klarovich. That horse is going to take a lot of money. And again, I'm just going to keep scrolling. Look at the 117, by the way, time form for your 5, Joe, at Saratoga over the summer. So this horse can absolutely fit. Let's talk about the number 8. As Paul, I think most people know by now, we are huge fans of Cherie DeVoe. I'm assuming you are also, Joe. She's just one of the best trainers in the country. I hate to say she's underrated, Joe, but I still sort of feel like she is. I loved this horse, and I'm going to go back to you see, by the way, how about 126 and 121? So if you like time form, this horse is the one to beat. Again, that's really more up for debate. But Paul, I really liked this horse in July when he came back and won at Saratoga at I thought a pretty fair price, and got a little bit of a strange trip at Churchill. I'm going to assume that Cherie's going to have him ready, Paul. And I think he's going to be forward. You get IRAD. I guess you can question the distance, but I think he'll be able to handle it.
Yeah, I'm on record. I think she's got a chance to be a Hall of Famer. I really think she's going to be that good. She's still, she's young overall, and relatively young overall, and certainly young in her training career. And I think I told her that in the tunnel at Del Mar after she won the Breeders' Cup. But Joe, right on target. I just think that it was, you called it an awkward trip, Joe. I think you called it a difficult trip. I just think that contributed to this horse just not having the oomph that we would have liked down the lane. And I just think with a cleaner trip, all systems go. Obviously, the layoff, no issue with her. That Saranac came back really well. 3 out of 5 horses won their next out. Kyle Spackler was one of the top male U.S. turf horses in the U.S., right? Yeah. So I just think, certainly not a bad effort in the Baruch. Running B was running pretty well at that time. So, yeah, I think the 8 is pretty solid here.
And DeVoe's having a nice meet, Joe, 26% at Fairgrounds this year.
I remember meeting her several years ago in Kentucky when she had Chad Brown's string there, and she talked about when she was going to go out on her own. It was eventually going to happen. She didn't know when. But then, obviously she's married to David and Gordo, who's probably the best or, top 3 bloodstock agents in the country. They buy horses in the $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 range, and they just do a great job from the top of that operation to the bottom. People don't understand, you got to be a good horse person, which she is, but they've got the horse flesh to be able to take their time. They develop young horses exceptionally well. mostly on the turf side, but we've seen Vava. We've seen other ones that she's done well with on the dirt. And the sky's the limit for that barn. I think Cherie might be late 30s, maybe 40. So, yeah, we got a lot of years ahead of us of watching her. And she hasn't won she won a Breeders' Cup race. That's high profile. But she's not really on the map like some of these other big trainers. She will be one of these days.
I'm a huge fan of More Than Looks, Joe. I'll tell you about that story later. But I chased him. I chased that horse all year.
I've done fine on that horse. That place in the Breeders' Cup was ridiculous.
Unbelievable. Let's go to the two big races, Joe, that we're here for. The Rachel Alexandra and, of course, the Risen Star. Now, the Rachel Alexandra, I think we can have a relatively short conversation. It's come up a small field, but there are two horses in this race, Joe, that I think have a serious chance to win the Kentucky Oaks on the first Friday of May. Let's go ahead and look at the field. The Rachel Alexandra is grade 2. This is points for the Kentucky Oaks, 105 points overall. 50 to the winner. So, ladies and gentlemen, as I put us back on screen for a second, you're basically talking about winning your ends. These are monster races. This is the second half of the Oaks and Derby, a trail season. The winner of these races is absolutely, barring health issues, going to be in the Oaks and Derby field. So these are races you absolutely need to pay attention to. It's a field of it's going to be a field of 6. The number 3, Ballerina d'Oro for Chad, is a scratch. That came out, I think, yesterday or earlier this morning. The Moreline favorite is a horse that I've liked from the very beginning. The Brad Cox trained, Luis Saez ridden, number 2, Good Cheer. We're not going to get 6-5, Joe, because of the scratch of 3. I think we're looking at maybe as low as 3-5. What are your thoughts in the Rachel Alexandra Saturday?
Well, the first thing I'll say is if the graded stake system was done the way it should be, there'd be no question this is a grade 1 race. Fairgrounds isn't under HISA jurisdiction, so until something gives on that front, it never will be. Same with the Risen Star. That should be a grade 1 as well, just for the history that I gave earlier and the reasons you just gave, Howard, with Good Cheer and Simply Joking. I mean, they are both two very legitimate fillies. I think the two McPeak horses are probably better than a lot of people will give them credit for. Whether or not they can win this race is another story. The thing that bothers me about Good Cheer, and I'm not quite to the level you are as far as fandom on her goes, Howard, she had to kind of grow on me over time. She never gets out of the gate well. I mean, look at all 4 of her starts, and sometimes it's her fault and sometimes it's not. Just never gets out of the gate well. And at some point, that's going to cost her. Probably not in a short field where I think there's enough speed to set up her late run. She's the one to beat. Simply Joking, obviously, she won the Letelier sprinting as a maiden. Back then, Whit Beckman had said she's better than Her Laugh, and Her Laugh on the same card won the Untappable. Simply Joking goes on to win the Silver Bullet Day Gate to Wire. And if you watch that race very closely, she's green in the stretch. She seems to lose focus. I talked to Whit Beckman about that because it is a concern. And he basically said to me, without saying it, she really needs blinkers. But it's hard to put blinkers on a horse that's a perfect 2 for 2. She ran with a target in the Letelier. I think she's probably going to be better moving forward, maybe with the blinkers, maybe without. But if she gets a target, in this race, the way it turns out tactically, if she's going to win this race, it's going to be on the lead or at least, right up close to whoever else decides to go from her inside. Looks like a 2-horse race. I might use both McPeaks. I find it interesting that Brian is riding a Goel's Delight, who was extremely impressive on debut at Fairgrounds, had some trouble in the Martha Washington. Kenny won that race with Take Charge Milady. And then the one Anonima, she continues to get better and better. She was really solid when she won that recent start at Fairgrounds. She should trip out from the rail. I might dabble in those two a little bit, but this looks like a chalky race to me.
I think so. Pete and Paul, just because I want to make sure we spend plenty of time on the Risen Star, I'll just throw it to either one of you with any thoughts. My thought is Good Cheer is just more classy than Simply Joking, but I hear you, Joe. I mean, Simply Joking can absolutely win this race. I just think Good Cheer, I'm hoping she's a little more professional now that she's 3, but you make an excellent point. If she doesn't get out of the gate in the Oaks, that could be a major problem. I don't think it's going to be a problem here. Pete and Paul, any quick thoughts? We'll just go on to the Risen Star.
No, I like Whit Betbert a lot. He certainly is an up and comer. He is at this point 1 for 23 in graded stakes, so that will improve. I thought obviously the best filly by far last year. The 2-year-old was Immersive, who's unfortunately on the sideline, and I thought this one was number 2. And I think that Joe made a key point about the gate issues. Obviously, a much bigger issue in a much bigger field, and also in this race, Joe, with the long run to the turn, that long stretch at Fairgrounds is. There's plenty of room for Louis Sayers to rouse her, and Louis rouses horses early in the race better than anyone, right?
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. I get to watch that day in and day out at Churchill, not only in graded stakes, but in 20 non-2 claimers. And he can will a horse to the finish line, that's for sure.
Pete, I think Good Cheer is going to love this long stretch. It's just, I mean, I don't have any. It's just a gut feel. I mean, she handled Churchill. There we go, guys. By the way, Joe, if you have a drink around, when you misgender a horse on the show, feel free to have any beverage, whether it be water or anything. So I did my first misgender of the night.
If I did that
There
on the
you go.
Fairgrounds set, it would make a lot of sense, actually, because I do that on occasion. I almost always catch myself right away, but
Yeah.
basically anything goes in New Orleans,
There you go. It happens I know, because I've seen some of the things you've worn for Mardi Gras, so we know anything goes down
I
there.
just got my
You know that I
costume
know.
mail the other day. I got a good one for you this year.
Oh, I can't wait. Pete, real quick, a Good
Yeah,
Cheer. Go ahead, Pete.
No, I was going to say 2 things. One, you said 2 horses that can really win the Oaks, except that they scratched the winner of the Oaks, Ballerina d'Oro. So she's not running.
Wow.
The winner's not running here, so she would have won this race too. So
Make sure you document that take.
That's one thing. So hopefully she's okay. I like to see her get back healthy. I forget what the ailment was, but the one good thing for Good Cheer just looks dominant. The thing is, the figures don't. If you care about that, the figures for a horse that's blown fields out, you want to see if there's a move forward, especially if you're going to the Oaks, and you want to make sure I had a weird stat that makes no sense to me, but I like to say them anyway because they're kind of stupid sometimes. Brad Cox, 60 to 90 day layoffs in 3-year-old graded stakes dirt routes, 0 for 17 and 10 for 17 in the money. Makes no sense to me, but it was interesting when you get a trainer that good that they're over a half decent number. It always sticks out when I see it, but since it doesn't make sense to me, I don't know if I would pay much attention to it. But if she loses at 3 to 5, you can use that as your. There you go, Joe. You can use that one on the air, Joe. When she loses, you could say, "See, I told you, he can't win on dirt routes with 3-year-old graded stakes off 60 to 90 day layoffs." I'll give you that one. I'll give you that one for the air on Saturday.
Yeah, numbers don't lie. I mean, even in this game, numbers don't lie. I come up with some good stats that are definitely worth noting.
I saw work of her down at Payson. She looks really good. We'll see. It's gonna be a fun race.
We hope she's great, right? We love when a great horse rises and keeps going from 2 to 3. So hopefully she's fantastic.
The Risen Star, guys, this is the big one of the day, and this is a really good field. Again, 50 points the winner. It's a win and you're in. I believe it's 20 points. Is it 20 or 25, Joe, for second? I'm sorry.
25.
25 for second. I mean, a few of these horses with second might eke their way into the Derby just on that alone. There's a lot of history with this race overall in New Orleans, and especially on this podcast last year. Let's get right to the field. We're going to talk about 15 minutes, Joe. 15 minutes, if that's okay, and then we'll let you go.
Yeah,
we actually have a doubleheader. We got another show we're doing later tonight. Let's go and look at the Risen Star Grade 2. It's a nice big field here of 13. The morning line favorite, and rightly so, is the number 4, East Avenue. He was, of course, the big favorite from the rail in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. That was an absolute disaster for him. He didn't break well. It was a weird race. It didn't work out. Brendan Walsh, 9-5 morning line with Tyler G. They are regrouping here in this race, and I think it's a really good spot. It's also a good post. Is it, Joe? Is this? And there's our picks on the bottom of the screen. Let me just give those, and then we'll go to Joe. I'm going 4-8-9. Paul's going 4-2-9, and Pete's going 9-4-3. Joe, as to put your handicapping glasses on, is it just as simple as if East Avenue runs his best, he's just the best horse? Is it really that simple?
Well, I got some news for you guys that isn't going to probably go over well, but it's become official now, and I've known about it for, I'd say, about 36 hours. Jonathan's Way's coming out.
Wow.
Yes,
right here
Jonathan's
live
Way's
on the
coming out.
HHH Racing Podcast. I don't think that's been made public. I have not
No,
heard that, Joe.
it's going to be. Kevin
Wow,
Kirstein just texted me.
Okay.
Kevin Kilroy had known, and I kind of got a little bit of a hint, but we didn't know it for sure. And obviously, being the racetrack, we're not going to, put that out there until it becomes official and
Sure.
Will calls the racing office. Unsatisfactory blood count. I was only marginally impressed with his workouts coming back, where East Avenue has just been an absolute beast in the mornings. And Brendan Walsh has kind of, put together some works where he's put him in company. He's given the horse target in the morning. We know that, so far what he's done has been on the lead. Bad start in the Breeders' Cup, and he packed it in after that. Would have liked to seen a little bit more competitiveness from him that day. But probably 10 seconds after the Breeders' Cup Juvenile was over, Brendan Walsh planned a course that was going to take him to the Risen Star. And I remember the first work back. I remember every single workout since then, and they've all gone perfectly according to plan. This horse is a monster physically. He's got the pedigree. He's got a great post. He's got tactical speed. And with Jonathan's Way out and built, I don't think he's coming into this race the way maybe the connections would like to see him coming into this race. They told me after the Lecomte, they were going to just skip the Risen Star and go to the Louisiana Derby. And now they're worried about getting the points because they know if they run second, they're going to have 45 and they're going to get into the race. So if you get past Jonathan's Way scratching and you are not necessarily a fan of built in this particular spot, then where do you go? I mean, I got a couple of long shots I'm interested in that I'll mention, but this is East Avenue's race to lose by far. He gets out of the gate, gets any kind of position. I know it's 9 furlongs off the bench, and a lot of handicappers are going to say that's a big ask, and he's probably only 90% for this race. I think that's going to be more than good enough.
Joe, in a weird way, I sort of feel like this is a race he needs to win. Now, I know there's going to be another race. I don't know if he's going to go in Louisiana Derby, what the plan is after this, but when a horse this talented is supposed to win a race and doesn't, I get the heebie-jeebies, Joe. And I don't know if he's going to do it rating or on the lead, or I'm assuming the one is going to gun American Props in the inside. So I think East Avenue is going to probably have to rate to some extent. I mean, maybe a length or two back, but if he's really the bee's knees, and Paul knows Godolphin very well. He's worked with people there. Joe, if you don't know, he's wrote a story, a book on Cody's Wish, which will be coming out this year, and you have to read it. It's going to be a fantastic read. But Paul, I mean, Godolphin expects this horse to win. I know it's just a prep for the next step, but it just feels like, Paul, this horse is supposed to win. You and I both have him on top.
Yeah, I thought he was the best 2-year-old last year, and I think Joe used the word disaster for the juvenile, debacle, disaster. Pick a D word. I'm not concerned about his lack of competitiveness, especially from the rail. When things went that wrong in a 2-year-old race from the rail in a big field, I just think Tyler was in, wrap-up mode relatively early. I thought he was the best 2-year-old. I think he's the best 3-year-old. If all systems are go, I'll be betting him on the first Saturday in May, so there's no reason not to bet him on the second Saturday in February.
Yeah, I certainly is the breeding. I mean, I suppose if it does come up wet, you got Go Zapper Joe on the dam side. So, I mean, if it does come up wet, I don't think that would necessarily hurt him, although I'm sure they're not doing a rain dance. I'm just throwing that out there. Pete, let's go with your top choice, and then I want to talk about a few long shots, Joe, because you see my picture on the screen. I've got one in second that I think is absolutely fascinating in this spot, and I'd love to hear. Oh, you too. That makes me feel better already, Joe. But Pete, let's talk about Built. Built's 5-1. Joe's exactly right. They were going to wait for the Louisiana Derby, He's doing very well, and they were worried, Joe and Pete and Paul, that if they waited for the Louisiana Derby and it went sideways, they'd be between a rock and a hard place. They'd have to go somewhere like the Lexington, Joe and Pete, or someone weird, and then have come back on short rest. Pete, that's not dissuading you. He was wide as wide can be in that Lecomte. I'm just not so sure how good that race was, but he's very talented, and I love Wayne Catalano.
Yeah, I mean, I like Disco Time a bit too. I guess the pick on Built is more if East Avenue's not ready, because if East Avenue is ready, and I guess the pick too is a little bit based on there is other speed in here, and I know we always love to say a horse is going to rate, and they're rating in their works, and Joe's 100% right. But until they do it in a real race, you still can have a question about it, and you like to see it when they're doing it against decent competition with other stuff going on, and there is enough speed in here that the hope is, if you bet against East Avenue, that they do try and soften him up early. And if they do, and he's not as sharp as he should be, and he is coming back at 9 furlongs, and there's a lot. It's a tough road. He's not coming back against like a 6-horse field where he could just get on the lead and go and sort of stretch his legs. He's going to have to work a little bit potentially. And my thought was, if that happens, I just like Built as a horse. And again, I don't like that Joe was saying, if he doesn't seem as sharp coming in, then maybe that's a fool's errand. But just in case East Avenue isn't as sharp as he should be, I think Built, hopefully we can get him back. I mean, that was a bad figure. The race didn't come back great, but it was in the slop. I just like the fact that he got a rough trip like that and still was able to close after winning, being on the lead. So he's a horse that I like, but I think East Avenue at his best obviously should win this race.
I thought Built had a great trip. I mean, he got inside on the first turn.
He did. I should say an unexpected trip is maybe more. I didn't expect him when he was behind like that to make the move. I was thinking of him as a horse that's probably a little better up close. So maybe unexpected trip is probably the better phrasing.
Jarrett said he was spinning his wheels. He did not like the track. I thought he did great to gut out.
Yeah, he looked like he was done,
Yeah.
right? I mean, watching it, I was like, man, this horse is done, because I had Disco Time, and then he started rolling a little bit. I was like, okay, but luckily Disco Time was able to get him. But still, I thought he ran a better race for the way he looked halfway through it, for sure.
All right, Joe. Now we usually, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you're new to us watching, because we're on X only tonight, we usually show a lot of replays. It's a little bit dicey with DRF and CDI, as Joe knows anyway. So we're not going to show a lot of replays tonight. Joe, last week I touted a Puerto Rican horse that it just didn't work out. He was 21 morning line at Tampa. I liked the horse at Tampa Bay. It was the 9 horse. He made a middle move, flattened out. I went with a long shot. I'm not afraid to throw some prices out there if I think it's logical. The number 8, Giacoso, I'm going to let you talk about this one because it sounds like you like this one a little bit also. To me, is absolutely fascinating. If it does happen to come up wet, I think that would even help this horse even more. But there's a lot of reasons why I am very interested in Giacoso at 20-1 morning line, who, by the way, we see the symbols now, is Triple Crown nominated with a very, very sneaky, cheeky trainer in Keith DeSormo and Jomar Torres. Why don't you talk a little bit about the 8, since it looks like you're also interested in him, at least underneath in this race?
Yeah, I mean, he was running on turf at Ellis, the first race that he, barely lost going a mile. He ran tremendously well that day, came back and dominated. And then you look at the 1-turn mile in the Iroquois, he makes a big middle move in there, was a little bit headstrong early, and he's not a 1-turn horse. You get him back to 2 turns, the race at Keeneland. Not sure why he didn't run better in the Bourbon. Comes back and runs a really good race in the subsequent start at Churchill on the grass. Again, defeating a horse that kind of got loose and lonely in the stretch that he was still able to catch. And he's been training great on the dirt. I mean, I can't remember the name of the horse. Next Level, I think it is. He had a working company with him the other day. Next Level isn't next level when it comes to quality, but he's a good allowance horse. He's got a little bit better tactical speed, I think, than Giacoso, and he was better than him in that work. I think the 9 furlong distance is going to suit him well. I think he's going to fly way under the radar, and he's going to be finishing at the end. So that's one long shot I like. The other one I like a little bit is Vamos Carlitos to just maybe get a clunk up trip for 3rd or 4th. He ran 2nd to Admiral Dennis last out. Admiral Dennis might be a bit of a fraud, but he was supposed to win that race pretty easily, and he didn't.
Yeah.
Ramos Carlitos looks like a horse that'll get 9 furlongs. He galloped out great after the finish line that particular day. So those are my 2 bombs. Curious to see if you like Giacoso, maybe for maybe a little bit even of a different reason than I do, Howard.
Well, here's my thought, and we'll just talk about this horse, and then we'll wrap up. We'll wrap up with you, Joe. We really appreciate you coming on, by the way, especially missing the dinner, because that does sound good. Maybe you can still go and grab some dessert or something.
No. Believe me, there's 100 places within 3 blocks from where I live. So.
Joe, I know you'll keep it straight with me, so tell me what you think about my logic here, other than what you said. Keith Sormo is an excellent trainer. I know he's under the radar. People don't talk about him much. It just seems like every year, Joe, especially at the fairgrounds, you can go back and look, everyone. He comes up with a horse that looks like on paper has no chance and runs huge. The Iroquois was pretty fast early, and you're right. He made a middle move and flattened out. But go back and look at that race. I mean, you've got Sandman, Magnitude, Authentic Strike just freaked. Owen Almighty. That was actually, at the time, Joe, I think most people thought that Iroquois was a little soft. But as it turns out, the form is absolutely fit in that race going forward. And the 2 things I like the most is, 1, I'm not worried about the dirt. 2, I think there is going to be a lot of speed, and I think he's been teaching this horse to rate and finish. And I love 6 furlong works. I know it's a little bit of a subtle thing, but you mentioned it already at the works. The 111 and 4 breezing, he's been breezing, consistently on the dirt locally all this winter. Keith is pointing to this spot and maybe the Louisiana Derby. Maybe Saturday's not his time. I'm not saying he's going to win, guys, but I really like him underneath. I'm going to key him in trifectas in 2nd, 3rd, maybe even key him in 4th in the Super, Joe. I'm not afraid of a lot of horses here, especially with your news of Jonathan's Way. And, other than East Avenue, I mean, who are you really worried about? Who really scares you in this race? I mean, maybe you can talk about the Chad. I liked Septarian last time, but maybe, it just didn't run very well. We haven't talked about
Noah's. We got to talk about Noah's horse.
Well,
our guy,
Vassimo,
Vassimo.
Yeah, Vassimo was in the news for reasons, that were not great for Todd. There's a medication issue. He just seems very one pace to me, Joe, and seems more like a Belmont type. He doesn't really have an acceleration. I don't know if it's going to work out, but he's talented. I guess the bottom line is, Joe, is Giacoso doesn't seem much worse than 8 or 9 other horses, and he's going to be 3 or 4 times the price as many others. That's my thought, basically.
Pletcher seems to run better horses in the undercard races on this day than he does in the actual Risen Star most of the time. He's got some earlier in the card that you might want to pay attention to.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said on Giacoso. I mean, he should run his race. How good his race is remains to be seen. I think Vassimo, I liked at least the gallop out was good. They kind of nudged him a little bit on the gallop out, which leads me to believe that they probably think he's a 9 furlong, 1.25 mile kind of grinder, maybe even, like you said, 1.5 miles. And sometimes in these 9 furlong races with the long stretch, that can play well. So I wouldn't be surprised if he hit the board. But East Avenue, Giacoso, my long shots were pretty much on the same page here.
Vassimo feels like Tapit Trice-ish. I don't know if he's that talented, but sort of that grindy, goofy type. I don't know. We'll see. And I like Tapit Trice too. Joe, we're going to let you go, man. Really appreciate you coming on again. I'm going to be at the Derby with a bunch of people from our podcast. I'd love to meet you. We'll talk through DMs and emails and whatnot. But any final thoughts for the viewers and listeners for the Saturday late pick 5?
I was on with you one other time before, Howard, and it was in the infancy of what you're doing now. And I said at the time, I'm like, this guy, I mean, I was admittedly pleasantly surprised. I'm like, this guy does a great job with this stuff. This is a great forum to show the past performances, and when you can, the replays, and bring on, intelligent, passionate horse players like the panel you got here. So, we need more people like you. Keep doing what you're doing. I appreciate it. Hopefully I can make it on again before 2 or 3 years pass.
Oh, we'll definitely get you on. We've had Kilroy on. We've had Scott Shapiro on. We love, I know Scott's on with CDI, but we love the CDI people. Kevin Kirstein, I can't say enough good things about all the work that he does. So Joe, we'll try to get you on before the Derby. And by the way, Pool 4, everyone, starts this weekend as well. So check out the future Derby pool. Joe Kristufek, Churchill Downs Incorporated. Thanks, my friend. Take
All right,
care on
cheers.
Saturday. Have a great broadcast.
Okay,
Thanks,
good
Joe.
luck. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Be
Take
well.
care.
Yeah,
Bye-bye. All right, Joe Kristufek, guys. Look, we've got about 5 or 6 minutes. Here's what I'm going to do. Paul, I think we're going to save your rant for next week, if that's okay. I hate to do that
Perfect.
to you, unless it's timely for now. Can it wait till next week, Paul? Can we do that?
It's under. I was going
Okay.
to, yeah, we could do without it.
Really quick, don't leave anywhere. We got our best bets, and then on the bottom of the screen, very important, everyone listening on X. Guys, a week from Saturday, live Saudi Cup card coverage. The last 3 or 4 races, we hope to have Davey Lane. He's going to confirm with me tomorrow. We will definitely have Emmett Kennedy, who's been with us before, if you guys remember him, from the Final Furlong podcast out of Ireland. It's going to be one of the biggest live shows of the year, including the $20 million Saudi Cup. Please check us out. I'm sure YouTube will be fine then. Please check us out on YouTube and X a week from Saturday morning, our time, of course, live Saudi Cup card coverage right here on the HHH Racing Podcast. Okay, real quick, guys. Go ahead, Pete, and then we'll show our
Real
best
quick,
bets.
speaking of Davey, his new Follow the Jockey for this
Yes.
upcoming weekend is up
Absolutely.
on the website. We posted a tweet about it as well. It's covering races in Australia and Qatar or Qatar, however you would like to pronounce it. So there's some huge, there's some really deep dive analysis into some of those races. So take a look on the website, follow the jockey, go to the link.
I'm laughing because we're talking about changing the way things are said or named geographically. I'm just going to leave it at that because
it's no Gulf of America, but you got to figure out how to do it anyway.
Let's just go to the damn best bets. I don't even want to go there. Pete's best bets, race 12. You're going a win on What Say Thee, and then you're going to go a double the 2 logical Oaks horses to Built.
Yeah, why not?
Right.
We'll take a shot and see if we can't get East Avenue beat.
I like it. Paul's going to race 12. That is the turf race also. He's going to go a pick 3.
Should be 2-8. 2-8, Howard. I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem.
My
I thought
bad.
you said 3-8, but I could be wrong about
I did.
that.
No, I did send. That's why I said
You
my
did.
bad. If it were your bad, I would have said your bad.
Okay.
Oh, no, that can't be. Wait a minute. That can't be right either.
I thought you said 4-7, but what do you got, Paul? Go ahead. I'll change it.
It's race 11. That's the mistake.
Okay.
The numbers are right.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say, I didn't think you liked Dean Martini there. You didn't mention that horse at all.
No.
No, that's not right either. No, that's
All
not
right.
right either. You know what? Let me say this. Wipe it out. Bet everything you have on the Good Cheer East Avenue double. And
Okay. What is that going to pay? 3-1, maybe?
if it pays 3-1, I'll be doing something silly.
The irresponsible, as our younger guys call it.
Irresponsible,
wager of the week.
unaccountable. Pete knows what I'm talking.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to race 11, guys. I really like Hall of Fame a lot. I think he's an up-and-comer, guys. So I'd go win on Hall of Fame. And then race 14, I know I tried it last week. People can crap on me. Look, the pick didn't work out. I said it might not work out. But, guys, Giacosta seems a lot more logical long shot because he's proven, against Stakes Company, and I like the trainer. And just I feel better about this, and that's not just redboarding. I said last week, that I was very interested in the Puerto Rican horse, but I also said he could flop. Sure enough, he flopped. It was a very speed-favoring track. Whatever. I was wrong. I can be a man about it. I was just wrong. I would play Giacosa, guys, in all spots, reverse tri-key, the number 8, and try to mess with him. And, guys, if I get, maybe a straight exacta East Avenue, Giacosa coming from the clouds, what's wrong with a 4-5 over 15-1 exacta for, $80 for 2, Paul? Nothing wrong with that, right? Whatever it might be.
The
60 bucks
exacta
for
would
2.
be a better idea than the try. I learned that the hard
Okay.
way in a race at Santa Anita last weekend.
Oh, well, yeah, that's for sure. Guys, been a great show. Again, we really appreciate, we have, again, 700, several hundred people watching, not 700, but several hundred people watching on X. Again, we always, for those of you that usually watch us on X, we're always on YouTube. In fact, it's the first show in 400 plus shows I can remember that we're only on X and not on YouTube. But we really appreciate everyone watching tonight. And those of you that are listening and watching as a replay, you can ignore this, but those of you watching live, in about 20 minutes, we're going to start 5 minutes late. About 20 minutes, we will have great race plays. It is our analysis of Santa Anita Sunday late pick 4. For my good friends, Pete Visco and Paul Harlan, this has been your host, Howard Kravitz, episode 393, getting close to 400, of Picks and Ponies. Crush your bets down on the bayou in New Orleans this Saturday. Take care, everyone. Have a great night. Bye-bye.
If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.